Hello, everyone's Forest Focus as Nottingham Forest claim a harder 0-0 draw against Arsenal at the City Ground tonight. Are we happy with that? Are we delighted with that? Or could we have shown a bit more in attack? Joining me to discuss it all, first of all, is Mark Sutherns. Evening, Mark. How are you?
Evening. Yeah, I'm good. Happy after that point. I think it's a good one.
Yeah, good one for me as well. We'll get more into that. I mean, there's not too much to talk about the game, but we'll discuss the emotions around it as well, certainly in the company of as well with Paul Morley. Evening, how are you doing?
I'm good, yeah. I would say I am contented, not ecstatic, but certainly not disappointed. And to paraphrase the chaps over my left shoulder, certainly not out of any competition for Champions League.
No, I mean, that was the thing for me. Going into it, Mark, I was, worried. Not worried. There was a concern. Certainly, we could have really lost our mojo completely. But what I saw tonight, I was happy with. We'll get into the attacking side of it, but the resolve, defending an absolute ton of set pieces against a really good set piece team. I'm much more glass half full and glass half empty. Certainly. What about you?
Yeah, I think you've got to be. I mean, yeah, okay, they haven't got a cutting edge. That's not a full strength Arsenal team by any stretch of the imagination, but elsewhere, other than at the up front, they're still very good technical team who are going to dominate possession. But from open play, I don't really think they created much at all. In fact, I think we had the better chances from open play. I think the issue before Danilo and Yates came on was they were forcing us back and winning set plays. And I thought the volume of set plays in the end might tell and we would concede one. But Nuno, to his credit, changed that. And it stemmed the tide. And if anything, we had, as I say, a couple of good chances of open play, and we could have even snatched a win. But defensively, we were back to our resilient best, and that was what's most reassuring for me.
I agree. I mean, if Arsenal had Saka and Martinelli and Havertz, maybe it's a different story. But you can only play what's in front of you. And apart from when Nwaneri had the ball, Paul, I was pretty comfortable in open play. It was just those set pieces that worried me. How comfortable a watch was it for you?
Fairly, yeah. I mean, I'd written on my pad after 20 minutes. This looks like it could have 0-0 written all over it. Just because we were not obviously showing hardly anything, and as Mark said, obviously, as the game went on, we had a few moments, but it kind of felt a bit like we obviously did. We parked the bus and we're just sort of hoping for either a mistake or an opportunity on the counter. But yeah, I think by and large we sort of neutralised their already fairly neutral attack, if you like. But certainly from a set piece point of view, it was pleasing to see how well we defended set pieces. There was one sort of slightly hairy moment, wasn't there, where Marino had a completely free run at the ball and Sells made a really good save. Which is probably the sort of the standout moment of the match, if you like, from a Forest sort of contribution point of view. But yeah, I felt fairly comfortable. I mean, I watched pretty much all of Arsenal's game at the weekend against West Ham, and it was a similar story. They looked pretty abject and blunt as they did tonight. So it was kind of what I expected them to be. Is it a little bit disappointed we didn't show a bit more endeavour? Possibly. I'm sure we'll come on to it. But I think given the two results that we came off, going into this, a clean sheet was kind of number one priority, and if we managed to nick it, then that would have been a bonus. So yeah, I think all said and done, it was a good performance, good point, and we can move on now with hopefully some more favourable fixtures to look forward to, with an opportunity to get on the front foot against the teams that we're coming up against in the next few weeks post City.
What did you make of us tactically, Mark? We did sit very deep again. There was a spell at the start of the second half where we really couldn't string anything together. Were you content with that approach of going about it, or would you have liked us to be a bit bolder?
I think Arsenal just played us well, to be honest. I think they kept their shape very well. They had a very good disciplined defence. We know defensively they're the best side in the Premier League, and Arteta's a good manager, and was set his team up not to get caught on the break. They know our threat. Our threat is pretty obvious. And I thought, apart from Callum Hudson-Odoi, I nearly did it again. Apart from Hudson-Odoi, we didn't really have much on the break in the first half at all. Elanga was disappointing again. And it was no surprise that he was the one sacrificed to bring on that extra midfielder. They forced us into those substitutions. We needed to get more bodies in the centre of midfield because they were getting too much possession and pushing us back. And yeah, they nullified our threat. And let's face it, they are a very good side. I mean, we're playing good opposition every week in the Premier League, but Arsenal, are probably the second best side in the Premier League this season. I would say, if it without too much of a stretch of imagination, they're not good enough to challenge Liverpool. Big gap now, but they were certainly for periods this season the second best team. So I don't think we can punish ourselves too much for not being able to break them down, because defensively they're very strong, and tactically, they're sorted. They know exactly how to contain us. So yeah, we could have offered more, but I think off the back of the results we've had, confidence wasn't high. It was really important not to lose that game, and mission accomplished.
Yeah, I think that's the big takeaway. That's the big takeaway for me. Mission accomplished. I mean, Arsenal's tactics were clever, and it did give us problems in Calafiori first half, Zinchenko second half when he came on, Tierney. They overloaded us in midfield. We'll come on to Dominguez because I'm sure he's a topic of conversation. I can see he's in the chat. It was certainly, to me, Paul, I was probably surprised he started. I didn't mind an unchanged 11 because someone's got to nail down that spot in midfield. They haven't. We'll come on to Yates as well. But what did you make of the team selection?
Yeah, I was sort of a little bit surprised. I did think Yates would probably start ahead of Dominguez tonight. But having said that, it was only 3 days ago when we picked the team against Newcastle, and probably most of us thinking, well, actually, that's the strongest 11 available. So it's hard to be too critical and grumble too much. And Nuno obviously sort of, it sounds like he read the riot act at halftime at Newcastle. The players came out and gave him what he asked for, and as a result, he's rewarded them all with a start. And tough assignment for Dominguez tonight. I don't think he was particularly worse than anybody else in the first half. We were just, as you say, they were stepping an extra man into midfield and we're getting a bit overran. But defensively, he was pretty disciplined. There was a couple of times where he nicked back in and won possession. So probably did mostly what was asked of him, but didn't offer anything going forward. Certainly, Yates and Danilo gave us an extra dimension when they came on. And I think, as the commentators were saying, we sort of seemed to move 10 yards further up the pitch. So, credit to Nuno for those substitutions. And it'd be interesting to see. Obviously, we've got the Cup next. I imagine it'd be a bit of mix and match when it comes to that game. But when it comes back to the Premier League for City in a couple of weeks' time, a week and a half's time, I wouldn't be surprised if either Yates or Danilo gets the nod ahead of Dominguez to start alongside Anderson for that game, assuming everyone's fit.
Thank you very much, Richard, for the $4.99. Appreciate that. Thank you for listening while you're in the gym, and anyone else who listens in the gym or anywhere else. You do the gym work because I never do any. So thank you. Thanks very much for the cash. Let's talk a little bit about Dominguez. He was getting hammered at halftime on Twitter, Mark, and I think he did have a difficult night. He was, but I don't think he was as bad as people were making out. He got turned by Calafiori, and that really put a light on him when he hit the post. I felt a bit sorry for our midfield in the fact they're consistently outnumbered. It was a difficult job. I thought Yates and Dino did well when they came on, partly because Anderson was in there helping them and we looked more compact. So
that's it.
Yeah. I mean, what did you make of Dominguez?
Yeah, I mean, 9 tackles, 6 of them. That's the most of any player on the pitch. So, if you look at data, he did okay. I thought he did win his fair share of possession, and he was getting stuck in. And over the season, he's the player who's won the most tackles per 90. So, if we want someone to harry, to press and win tackles, he's our best player according to the stats we've seen this season. So, and I think he did that in the first half. But like you say, they were pushing Raya up with the defence. They were moving Calafiori into inverted role, if not even up front. They were outnumbering us, so it was really tough. And Gibbs White wasn't, it's the same again. Gibbs White was up with Chris Wood. He was the nearest player to support him, so he wasn't dropping deep. So we were short in there, which is why Nuno changed it in the second half so we could compete, man for man in midfield. So, and that improved things. So I think the first half, I wasn't worried though. I mean, we've seen before, haven't we, in the first half where we can see possession and but we don't allow too many chances from open play. And that's exactly how the first half went. My only concern was the set pieces. I wasn't worried otherwise, and I certainly wasn't singling out Dominguez as a weak link. No,
I wasn't. I mean, I looked on Twitter after 20 minutes and people were going nuts. I thought, well, what did people expect? Arsenal were always going to dominate the ball. We hung in there well. We didn't create enough. We'll talk specifically about that penalty incident in one moment, Paul. But just in general, we just had a lot of nearly moments all night. We played for that one big chance, and we couldn't quite craft it, could we?
No, exactly. Yeah, it was very similar. If you think back to the Spurs game on Boxing Day, it felt a very similar sort of pattern to that, where obviously we did in that game, manage to create that one chance, but for the rest of it, it was by and large, not want to say camped on the edge of our box, but we were sitting deep and just sort of repelling and forcing wide and preventing from any major threat through the middle. So it felt like a very similar game to that, but we just didn't, as you say, we didn't quite fashion that chance, apart from possibly the moment where Callum got in behind and falling down your track, Mark. Hudson-Odoi got in behind, and
what is it about wingers on the right? Is Brennan or is Callum or yeah?
I don't mind calling Callum. I'm sure he won't mind. Where he got in behind and had a bit of a tangle with Calafiori. I know you're about to ask it. Personally, I didn't think it was a penalty. I sort of went up for it initially and then saw the replay and thought, look, it was just a case of he got in front, but I don't think he did enough to force him off the ball enough to make the ref make that decision. Personally,
I think for me, you can always think, why has he gone down if there's no contact? And there was contact, but if the ref doesn't give it, VAR is not going to intervene there. For that was my take on it. What about you, Mark?
Yeah, it's funny. You get those penalties where the defender doesn't even make a challenge. It's just the attacker catches their heel on the defender and goes down. And I think there was one for Liverpool at Bournemouth this season recently. I think it was Gakpo running through and the defender clipped his heels. They won a penalty. Yeah. And I wondered, you only get them when the attacker's running towards the goal. You never get them when they're running from wide. And I thought that's what had happened here. I thought that, yes, there was kind of like an arm on the shoulder, but I thought Calafiori had actually just clipped his running leg, his training leg. I'll have to see it again. They showed it a couple of times, but didn't dwell on it too much. There wasn't enough contact for me to give a penalty. So I think it would have been a very soft one had we got it, unless it was an instance where, he caught his trailing leg, because we've seen those given. So if it was one of those, perhaps we were unlucky. But my first take on it was, there's not enough there. He tried to buy it. He had him on toast, though, didn't he, for the first 10, 15 minutes? And obviously, Arteta reacted by taking him off because he got the booking, which was annoying because I thought second half that was going to be an avenue to explore. Interesting, we swapped Elanga and Hudson-Odoi in terms of flanks. So that was, I think, the first time they've started on the opposite flanks. Elanga on the left, Hudson-Odoi on the right. So, I don't think it was a pen for me.
I thought he was going to swap them over, like every 20 minutes or something, just have a go on a different one. Yeah, it's a bit of a surprise. He put his hand on his shoulder, I think that did put him off his stride. But if the ref doesn't give it, like I say, I don't think VAR is going to intervene there. We'll pick up on that Calafiori point in 1 second. Just before we do, a word or a video for the Trent navigation. They've sent me, and I think it's quite good. See you in 52 seconds.
Hey up, me duckies. A quick rundown of match days at the Big Shed. We're open from 10, serving full English breakfast, teas, coffees, and believe it or not, beers. Father's Footy Quiz is followed by the lunchtime kickoffs, and the outdoor kitchen is fired up from midday, serving sourdough pizzas, burgers, hot dogs, pies, and sausage rolls. Lovely. Pints start at £4. We have a great selection of cask ales and lagers to lubricate the vocal cords for a bit of a sing-song before the game. After the match, we've got some great DJs and live bands booked. So get your send down to the Trent Nav. Win or lose, we're having a booze. And if we draw, we'll have some more.
Love that ad. That's brilliant.
Good, isn't it? They say it's
yeah, that's fantastic. That was.
I never knew they did breakfast, actually, Matt. But now I'll see that. I might have to get it because the Man City game's 12:30 kickoff, isn't it? So I'll be there early. I'm going to
exactly
breakfast. Yeah,
exactly. We'll get down for breakfast. As you might be able to tell, I didn't do the voiceover.
I was going to say you disguised yourself well there for that reason.
Put on my best Nottingham accent. No, it wasn't me. It's a good one though. It is a good one. Right, just one more point on the first half. Then, just a little bit. Kind of, could we have got the ball to Hudson-Odoi a bit more? I mean, I actually admire Hudson-Odoi's defensive work. I thought it was his best in a Forest shirt in a way, Paul. But is it a bit of a shame we couldn't get him higher up the pitch with Calafiori on that booking?
Yeah, I did. I thought after 2 minutes, it's like, come on, I've been critical of Forest for doing that a lot of times this season, where they seem to get players on bookings early, but never really exploit it. And maybe it's probably because of the way we play and we sit back and we don't necessarily, we're not necessarily on the front foot in order to do that. So yeah, it was a bit frustrating. But coming to your point about his defensive work, there was I definitely, again, that was in my notes. It was something that he's been criticised quite a bit this season for not pulling his weight in that sense, and in terms of not tracking back. And but tonight he was, obviously been given the instruction by Nuno very specifically to make sure that he was there to cover the overlap. And there's at least once, probably twice, where they tried to play in. I think it was Calafiori down the left, and Hudson-Odoi was there sweeping up. So good performance from him defensively. And I'm sure that if we'd have had the ball, I think that of the moments that we had in the first half, we talked about the sort of penalty one. And when he took on Calafiori, he was at the heart of any sort of positive flashes that we did have in the first half, and probably second half as well, thinking about it. So good performance.
Yeah, good performance again. Good performance again. Second half, we really weathered the storm at the start. How many corners did they have, Mark? Have you got that to hand?
I wasn't counting. I was too busy biting my nails.
It was well into double figures. I mean, we showed good resolve there. 9 times out of 10, we either got the first contact or didn't let them get a clean first contact. It was just that one from Marino, the poor reference, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was a couple of times when I thought we would look in short-staffed on the far post, because I was obviously they do that thing where they queue up far post, and they kept knocking it far post. And I was thinking, we've only got Chris Wood back there, and I was a little bit worried that we were concentrating too much on the near post. I mean, they're the best team in the league. We talked about how good they are defending, but they're the best team at set plays, no question. So we conceded a lot of set pieces. I want to have a look, see how many we did give away. But yeah, 11 corners, so that's a lot. And a couple of free kicks as well they were throwing in. But we dealt with it well, apart from that one, like Paul mentioned earlier, about the Marino clear chance that Sells got his hand on. But apart from that, means Sells recently has been really busy. This is probably one of his quietest games, which, considering how much possession we conceded, says a lot for the defence in front of him.
Yeah, and the game plan did start to come together. We had, again, those moments. Wood did have a shot save, Paul. He had another nearly moment, and then I think the subs did help us. Did you feel like we were going to nick one or not?
Well, yeah. I mean, he was hopeful, weren't you? I mean, there was Morgan did brilliantly to sort of turn on the edge of the box and create that opening for Wood. I was wondering whether he could have gone across the keeper. He sort of went near post, but he was under pressure to sort of get his shot away. So it was sort of a didn't necessarily, it was an instinctive sort of offload of his shot. And then there was one where Saliba made a brilliant recovery tackle where he was sort of looked like Wood was about to pull the trigger, and you think, could he have been a bit quicker? But actually, Saliba, give him credit for that. And then there was one other incident which springs to mind where Anderson carried it down the left and looked to ping it across, and it just in front of Hudson-Odoi. And it was possibly a bit of tiredness from Hudson-Odoi just not quite having the legs to get in at the back post, or whether Anderson put too much on it. But I think that was probably the other chance that springs to mind that I can remember. But yeah, I was more hopeful than expectant that we would nick one. As I say, I think it became relatively apparent that probably from the point that the subs came on, that the game plan was just to sort of try and move the game up the field a little bit, keep them away from our goal, and the fact that we took Elanga off and put 2 central midfielders on was probably a signal that Nuno was pretty content with the 0-0, and I think we probably all feel the same way.
Interesting subs. They were actually the 2 I wanted to come on. I thought Sangai would come on, but we needed someone who could pass the ball. Danilo played very distinctly at number 6, almost on his own, Mark. What did you make of that? What did you make of the lads that came on, Yates and Danilo?
Yeah, Danilo came deep, didn't he? And got the ball off the centre halves and just gave us that extra man there when we were trying to play out. And I think he can do that. He can be careless when he's playing deeper, when under pressure, but he was getting the ball from Sells or one of the centre backs and bringing it out or knocking a long ball, and I thought that was fine. I thought tactically that worked really well, and I think it was needed because we didn't have any control of the game, and while they weren't creating clear cut chances, just like I said, getting those set plays. I think we conceded one corner once Yates and Danilo came on, and the free kick at the end. Apart from that, we didn't really look like we were going to concede too many set plays or concede too many chances. And Danilo and Yates had big part of that. So just their energy as well. I mean, we've seen it a lot this season, the central midfielders being swapped with 30 minutes to go, and that was the case. I just think again, I will say, we don't have a real dynamic attacking option on the bench to bring on. Taiwo came on with 5 minutes to go, 6 minutes to go. In our first season in the Premier League, he would have been on a lot sooner because obviously he was a lot fitter and more effective. So I just think we lack that player to come on and stretch the opponent. We don't have it. And Sousa and Jota weren't called upon because they're probably not better than what we've already got on the pitch. And that's our issue, I think. We don't have those attacking options. I thought, to Nuno's credit, the Morato would come on and we would try and hold it in that way. So I actually think the Yates and Danilo subs were brave and got us the control we needed.
Yeah, I thought they were good subs. Taiwo did all right when he came on. He held the ball up. He probably held the ball up better than Wood, but obviously Wood's definitely the main man. And I thought Yates was good when he came on. A couple of free kicks, won. Did his case, no harm. Be interested to see what we do against City. Probably a conversation for another day. One big defensive moment, Paul, that turned out to be nothing because it was offside, but we didn't know that. Murillo didn't know that, and Sells didn't know that. So we've got to give them credit, haven't we?
Yeah, it was classic Murillo, wasn't it? Getting back and clearing off the line as he's done so many times. Yeah, obviously watching it, I was thinking, oh Christ, this is the moment where they nick it. And yeah, between the two of them, they did brilliantly. Like you say, they didn't know it was offside. I think once he played it back, Zinchenko was a good yard or so offside. So yeah, but yeah, all credit to them both for staying concentrating and I guess Murillo doing what you'd want your defenders to do to not stop, get back on the line and be there to block when the shot came in. Just going back to Yates just very quickly. One instant which I don't think we talked about was a free kick that he won on the edge of the area where I think it was Marino high foot and Callum whipped the cross across. That was screaming out for Murillo. It was prime Stuart Pearce position on the corner of the penalty area, waiting for a left footer to go and have an absolute larrup at it and lash it into the top corner. I was thinking, if there's ever a position where Murillo can take a long go off a long run up and smash it, that was it. And unfortunately they went with Callum whipping it in and Arsenal defended it quite comfortably. But yeah, it just reminded me of a situation where Pearce scored a free kick against Coventry in the League Cup from the corner of the penalty area. It was exactly the same position. I was just willing Murillo to go and hit it, but unfortunately they had other ideas.
I'm surprised we clipped that in. We do pump the ball into their box a lot, which is their central defenders ate up. I can see why we did it because we weren't creating much. But yeah, in that instance, I'd have like to see someone just run up and smash it. Thank you very much to Nikos for the $4.99 as well. He thought Nico Williams did well against Wanyeri. I think he did, but I think Wanyeri's a top player. I mean, that turn was really good. What about the fullbacks in general, Mark, Oleraina and Nico, especially Ola? Did you feel he was improved today?
Yeah, better. I mean, I expect a 7 or an 8 out of 10 from Ola all the time, so it's very rarely he drops below that. And I thought he was that tonight. I thought he played well. Got forward when he could. I think Nico probably edged it out of the two of them. I think he did have a really strong game. And yeah, when Yeri was their bright spark, and no question that was the most likely avenue that was going to unlock us. I thought Odegaard was not too effective. I did fear his creativity going into the game, but we kept him quite quiet and generally we dealt with him okay from open play, like I say. So yeah, Nico played well. Aina did all right. It was what I expect. The two centre backs have probably got to take the most credit because just the amount of balls that Arsenal threw into the box from set pieces.
Just talk amongst yourselves about man of the match. I just heard my wife come back. I'm going to see if she's left our son here or not. My daughter's been singing in the Young Voices and they went to watch. So I'm going to see if there's an 8-year-old kid in his bed or if they've gone. So just give us your man of the match and I shall return and give you mine in 1 minute. Yeah,
well, I'll go first. I obviously on the live game they gave it to Murillo. I think I'm not going to give it to him because that was offside, so we don't give him credit for the clearance off the line because he won't get that. So I'm going to go Milenkovic, mainly because he got booked really early on. In fact, in the first 5 minutes, I think, for kicking the ball away. And then he just dealt with that really well, really professionally. And because of the number of set pieces that we conceded, he's the player that's probably made the difference to that compared to last season for me. So I'm going to credit him for the defending at set plays and for his steady and calming influence and just edge it over Murillo and Nico for me.
Yeah, I'd say the same. It was kind of one of those matches where it was quite difficult to pick a man of the match because no one really stood out. There was a lots of, as you say, sort of 7 out of 10s and as a first half, Morgan and Callum, in flashes showed what they could do. But yeah, I would agree. I think Milenkovic, just for his, every single time the ball goes out, he's there, he's vocal, he's rallying the troops, and it's difficult to underestimate what that does for a team in terms of just keeping everybody, particularly when you're facing the barrage of corners that we were. He was making sure that everybody was on it, concentrating, tuned in every time. Even if it wasn't him that was, getting the interventions, he was organising everybody. So just for that organisational presence and leadership, I think Milenkovic for me was man of the match.
It was nice to see at the end him and Murillo congratulate each other, hug each other, and it was like, yeah, they're back. Yeah, that feels good to have them feeling confident again, particularly going into the City game when it's certain Haaland and Mamouche to deal with. So it was good.
Good stuff. He's back in bed. So yeah, thank you, chaps, for holding the fort. I don't know who you said. I thought Hudson-Odoi was good. I thought Gibbs-White was good with limited of ball. Milenkovic was good, as you said. I'd go with Murillo. A really good piece defending first half when Nwaneri did get in, and I thought he had a really good game. Him or Milenkovic. Milenkovic as well managed his game really well. If you didn't say that, I'm sure he did after getting that early booking. Really silly booking. Don't know why he did that. It's on the edge of their box, but yeah. So that would be it for me. Right, 575 people watching, which is great. Do us a favour and hit like if you haven't already. Would really appreciate that. I'm just looking for the ad for. Is that it? No, that's not it. Oh, there it is. Sorry. Vesta Blinds. If you're looking for new windows or shutters made to measure throughout Notts or most of the East Midlands, give them a look up. It's vestablinds.com, and you can see the number on your screen. info@vestablinds.com is the email as well. So thanks very much for their support of the podcast tonight. Right. How are you feeling in general then, Paul? Just lumping it all together now. We've arrested the slump. Results, I don't know I think Newcastle are losing. So we know roughly what results are. How are you feeling about it all in general as we sit here with, is it 11 games to go?
Yeah, I'm feeling really good. I put something out on Twitter earlier today because there's been lots of chat, hasn't there, about how, particularly after last night with the way results went, more teams now being in the mix for the Champions League. And I actually think that's more of a help than a hindrance because there's so many teams that have got to play each other. So Villa, for example, I know they're quite a far way back, but they've got 10 games left. 6 of their 10 games are against teams between 3rd and 9th. City, I think, have got 5 games against teams between 3rd and 9th. Bournemouth have got 3 or 4. Brighton have got 3 or 4. So everybody's got to play each other. And we've got this nice little 4-point cushion. Now, we've got no more games against Arsenal. For me, the table's now split into 4 groups. You've got the top 2 who are pretty much nailed on for Champions League. You've then got 3rd to 10th who are fighting out for 3 places. You've got 11th to 16th who are kind of safe but not going to threaten Europe. They're not going to go down. Then you've got the bottom 4. We've got 6 of our games are against that sort of nondescript 11th to 16th spot where at this stage of the season teams maybe are on the beach a little bit. We've got by far the most favourable running of all the teams in contention. It feels to me like 64, 65 points is the sort of magic number. If you think Newcastle now are on 44, they've got 11 games to go. So to get to 66 points, they've got to get 2 points per game. And the only team in the league that's at 2 points per game is Liverpool. Everybody else is below that. So for anybody below us to get 64, 65 points, they're going to have to go on almost a title-winning run between now and the end of the season. And given they've all got to play each other, that's kind of nigh on impossible. So we've just got to keep grinding out results. I think 5 wins from here and a couple of draws sees us into the top 5. We've more than got the games to get there. City's pretty much the last difficult game until Chelsea. Not that I say difficult. That's remiss of me because every game's difficult. But the last game against a real contender until the end of the season. Last game against Chelsea. So yeah, I feel really confident. Really bullish about our opportunity to get in the top 5. And you know what? Even if we don't, we'll probably miss out slightly. And looking ahead to next year, if we end up in the Europa League, it's a competition we've probably got more chance of winning than the Champions League anyway. So, it'll be a very big silver lining against a pretty small cloud, I would say, if we don't quite make the top 5.
Yeah, I agree. City won. So yeah, City won 1-0. So they're a point behind us now. Newcastle lost. Obviously, Chelsea won. Bournemouth lost. Villa are really sliding. Villa are actually below Brighton and Fulham now, who both won. So the picture's clearing up a little bit. I'll put this comment up from Pat Mark and see what you think about it. Just let me find it. Pat says we're not a top 4 team, and I can see the argument because maybe we're not in terms of quality. I mean, we are 3rd at the moment, and we're in a shootout now with 11 games to go. And as Paul says, we've got a head start. So, what do you say to Pat, and what do you feel about where we're at in general?
Yeah, I think it's fair enough. I think I look at it. I think City are going to take us. Look at the fixtures City have got. They've got a very easy run in. So I think we're definitely going to drop a place. Then it's really down to whether Newcastle, Chelsea, Bournemouth, can they find enough consistency to catch us or overtake us? I think that we've got a good chance of coming top 5. I said about a month ago, if we're in the top 5 when we go to Ipswich, then if we're still in the top 5 at that point, I think we've got a very good chance of holding on to it, and I think we will. But Paul's right. I mean, if you look at the fixtures that we got left, the only 2 that we're playing that are in contention for Europe are Villa away and then Chelsea at home on the final day. Other than that, we're playing teams that have got little to play for. I mean, I guess Ipswich away, they're playing for survival. Leicester, with 3 games to go, will probably be down, so that's okay. But they're all difficult games. I mean, Everton at home won't be easy because Everton are playing well under Moyes. Brentford at home, Brentford have got a bit of a hoodoo on us. So, yeah, Palace away, look at where Palace are at the moment. So even the middling teams that have their moments and have got players who can hurt us. So we need to be at the top of our game, and we haven't been. But tonight was a showing that we can get back to our resilient best, at least. And then hopefully Chris Wood can carry on scoring goals and our wingers can carry on providing chances. So, yeah, I kind of agree. I don't think the quality we've got matches the likes of Man City. Doesn't quite match, Chelsea's best 11 or Newcastle's best 11 maybe. So you can argue that. But the teams around us and below us have been so inconsistent, we deserve to be where we are. So it's a question of, can we hold on? And like Paul says, if we don't, it's still going to be an incredibly fantastic season for us, because I thought we'd be looking over our shoulder, and we haven't been doing that for many, many weeks. In fact, probably since second or third game of the season, we haven't really thought about the bottom of the table and how that could affect us. So it's a huge success regardless, I think.
Sorry, go on.
No, go on, Paul, please. I
was going to say, I'm just looking at the fixtures. When we play Leicester at home, the weekend we play Leicester at home, which is with 3 games to go, Chelsea and Newcastle play each other. So that feels like that could be a pivotal weekend in the whole thing, depending what happens between now and then, because clearly they can't both win that game. That's the sense of all the teams you talked about. Bournemouth, Brighton. If one of them goes on a run, then fine, but that's going to be at the expense of one of the others, because they've got to beat one of the others on the way. So the fact that we've not got to play hard, pretty much none of those teams, but they've all got to play each other, means that they can't all keep winning. They're all going to drop points along the way. So this 4-point buffer that we've got feels massive. I mean, had we managed to nick the win tonight, given the way that the other results have gone, I'd have felt that we'd have had almost 1 foot in on the plane, as it were, for the Champions League. But we're still definitely in the driving seat, and we've just got to look after ourselves, and the others will fight amongst themselves, and they'll drop points, and we'll benefit from that for sure.
I think just looking at the upcoming games, I mean, Chelsea, Southampton, Christ. I watched that game in full last night. I think we could have beaten them if we'd strung an 11 together when you watch them. Of course, Cole Palmer couldn't score, but everyone else could. So that Chelsea game, I don't read anything into it. And now they've got Leicester. So I think they'll go above us. But my point is, Chelsea are not that good. I mean, God, if I was a Chelsea fan watching them pass it back to their keeper, pass it to a centre-half, pass it to a keeper, then go nowhere, I still think we can finish above them. My other point is they'll probably be above us after the next game because they've got Leicester and we've got City. But mean, I think that's another point against City, Mark, would be a great result, wouldn't it? If we can,
Yeah.
battle again and get another draw, wouldn't it?
That's it, yeah. Because if we get a point against City, I think mathematically we must be in the top 5 come the Ipswich game, because you're right. Chelsea go above us on goal difference. City won't go above us because a point each. So we'll be fourth. I do think City will finish above us on the final table, just because they're getting players back fit and they're out of the Champions League now, and they've got a very easy run in. So I think they're gonna soar above us. Fair enough. Newcastle, Chelsea, Bournemouth. I think it's those 3 we've got to worry about. Fulham could do us a favour because they've got a very difficult run in, but they actually play the likes of Bournemouth and Chelsea before the end of the season, and they're the kind of team who can take points off of those 2. So I don't see, even though Fulham have had good results and are getting in touching distance, their running's really bad. Brighton as well. I don't think they're quite going to make it, but hopefully they can take points off Newcastle when they play them. So yeah, Paul's right. I mean, we've got the easiest run in of the teams vying for Europe, so it is in our hands. If we can just get some more confidence from tonight's game, if we can get a point against City, then I think we go into a run of Ipswich, United, Villa, Everton, where if we can get 2 or 3 wins from that, then we're in a very strong position.
Getting way ahead here because there's obviously FA Cup games to come, and we'll preview the Ipswich game properly on Friday. But the next round of Premier League games are obviously us v Man City in the early kickoff. Brighton and Fulham play each other, and they are in the hunt. As mentioned, Villa goes Brentford, which is a tough game. Chelsea, as we said, play Leicester. Tottenham are at home to Bournemouth, so that one could go either way. And Man United, who are absolutely horrific, but they are at home to Arsenal, and they do tend to turn up in the bigger games. I think they scraped past Ipswich tonight with a red card, I think.
3-2, apparently, yeah.
Yeah, first goal was absolutely hilarious. I don't know if anyone's seen it. Yeah. Poor old Dorgo, whoever it is they've signed.
Got sent off as well, didn't he? So.
Yeah. Last game of that round is West Ham at home to Newcastle, and West Ham look better to me under Potter. So you can always spin narratives around all these games. They always can look. Our games always feel to me look a lot harder now, even though maybe they are, maybe they aren't. So I do.
Isn't it nice, Matt, to be looking at our fixtures and thinking, can we get the points to make Europe, rather than where the points going to come from to keep us up, which is what we've been used to. So we're spoiled, aren't we? Let's face it in that respect.
Yeah, we are, and we can't rely on teams to keep losing, but they are. So there's a lot of teams are out of form, aren't they? Go on,
I think we've got 11 games left. So if the last 2 seasons when we've been fighting against relegation, we've taken 12 points from our last 10 games in the last 2 seasons. So even if we only are as good as we have been in the last 2 seasons when we've been fighting relegation, that's 12 points plus 1 game in hand, which could be 15, which could take us to 63, which is definitely going to be there or thereabouts. So, we've shown in the last couple of seasons when we needed to, when the run in comes, we've turned it on, albeit that was to stay up. But similarly, we just need to produce the same sort of back end of the season performance we've done for 2 years, and we'll definitely keep ourselves in the picture.
I think so. I think we'll leave it there. Great to have 600 people with us. Do us a favour and hit like I say if you haven't already. I say we'll leave it there because we'll be back at 9:30 in the morning. So not long till we restart with Kelv and Pete will join us for that. So I'll get Kelvin to talk in more depth about the defending and what he liked. And then we'll look ahead to the Ipswich game on Friday. Might not be an opposition preview, but I think we've done lots and lots of these today. So people are probably sick of the sight of me. Not these lads, obviously. Right. So if you have enjoyed that, do us a favour as always. Hit like on this video. Do hit subscribe. Consider channel membership or Patreon. If you are on Patreon or you want to be on Patreon, it's all linked into Spotify now, so you can listen to it there. And a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify would be lovely. Right, Mark, anything you wanted that we missed about the game? Anything you want to add?
No, I was just thinking to myself there, what would you rather have, a cup final or Champions League place? Because I think the FA Cup, obviously we love still being in it and we've got a good chance of going through, but there's every chance that when it comes to the crunch, we haven't got, we're going to have to play a full strength side. I think we're going to play a stronger side against Ipswich. Certainly if we get past Ipswich, we're going to play a strong side. We've said we've got strength in depth, but we haven't really got players on the bench, like I say, who can come in and it's like for like, exactly. So I do wonder whether, you know, if we go out the FA Cups, that's a bad thing, because obviously if it increases our chances of getting Champions League in the long term, that'd be a great thing. But a cup final, obviously, that would be amazing, wouldn't it, to cap the season? So it's a great dilemma to have, and I'm trying to think which one I prefer.
That is tough. I mean, I say cup win, not cup final. I don't know. I'll ask Kelvin that tomorrow. I wonder what the players would say. Silverware and a medal around your neck or replacing the Champions League. Champions League opens a lot of doors for a football club, but an FA Cup, you know, we've got the trophies round the stands, haven't we, with what we've won? No, that is a tough one. What about you, Paul?
I'm greedy. I want both. But no. You know, I'm really looking forward to the FA Cup game against Ipswich. I mean, look, with 2 games from Wembley. I know. Obviously, we talk about you want to get the final, you want to win, but semi-finals are at Wembley now as well, right? So we literally are 2 games away from Wembley. The first of which is home against a team in the bottom 3 who can't buy a point. So, you know, we've got to look upon that as a real opportunity just to build some positive momentum. I mean, you know, we saw that in the promotion season. What a cup run can do for the general feel of the place and just the positive vibes that it can instill both in the crowd and the squad. So I think we should be taking the cup pretty seriously. I don't expect a full strength team against Ipswich, but similarly, I would imagine they are probably going to have a dilemma as well, in that, you know, they're not going to want to, you know, they're probably arguably they've got even more reason to rest people than we have, and literally fighting, scrapping for survival. So are they going to want to risk you know, some of their best players in a cup game when they need them for a Premier League survival run in? So look, a really good opportunity next week to get to the 6th round, to quarterfinals, call it what you will, and then, let's say, you're 1 game from Wembley with a favourable draw. Who knows what can happen? So
I'd be really surprised if Ipswich play all their best players. I mean, you know, what if they send out Delap and he gets injured?
This is it, isn't it?
It's over, isn't it?
Delap's the one, isn't it? Right, because, you know, he's the one who will trouble us, and it's a big decision for them whether he plays that game, because in a way they'll be thinking the same, as in, what would they rather have? You know, get to a Wembley semi or final and get relegated, or stay up? They'd rather stay up, clearly. So I wonder whether that will influence their lineup.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should play.
If it had been us in their position in the last couple of years, you'd have gone every time. You'd have gone, sod the FA Cup, want to stay up.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think we'll play Taiwo. I would, but yeah, we'll talk about that more on Friday. Here's one last quick question, which we don't know the answer to, but just out of curiosity, what do you think the owner would prefer? I know he'd want both, Mark, but if he had to pick one, would he want the prestige of the silverware, or would he want Champions League?
No, he'd want Champions League, I think. I just think the status of playing with European elite and the difference that would make to the club financially, and also to the caliber of player that we would attract in the summer. I mean, let's face it, if we win the FA Cup, will that influence the players that could look our way during the summer? Probably not. If we get Champions League, will it influence the players who look our way? Yes, it will. So I think long term, although people might scoff and say, of course we want a trophy, Champions League means so much in terms of the credibility of the club in other people's eyes, but also commercially, the gap that you open up if you qualify the Champions League on the clubs that don't is really significant. So I think if I'm reading Marinakis' mind, he'd love a trophy, but I think he put Champions League first.
I think
it's almost the unfortunate consequence of modern football, isn't it? That we're all probably from a generation where trophies, you know, were the be all and end all, but you know, you've got to be realistic, and you know, when you spell it out like Mark just has in terms of, you know, the players that we can attract and the exposure that the club will get from being in the Champions League versus, right, you're in the FA Cup, you're in the Europa League, and like I say, you know, that's certainly no booby prize for sure. You know, that's a fantastic season if that happens, but the difference that could make in the next 4 or 5 years getting the Champions League could be absolutely huge. So I think the owner would if he could pick one or the other, he'd pick that.
Yeah, FA Cup does guarantee Europa League, but I agree with what you boys are saying. You attract a different caliber of player if you're in the Champions League than if you're not. I mean, this is a better topic than do you think we can beat Luton at Kenilworth Road with 10 games?
I was just thinking that myself. I was going, go back 12 months for I mean, I have to check myself that we're even having this kind of conversation.
know.
It's a bit crazy because there's no way we'd have foreseen this with 10, 11 games to go, that we'd credibly be having this conversation. So fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. How long ago did I end this stream? Well, I mean, we are still here, obviously, but I think it was about 10 minutes ago, I think. So, yeah, we will end it there. Paul Morley, thank you very much.
A pleasure as always. Thank you. Nice to see you, Mark. Cheers, Matt.
Yep, good to have you with us. Mark Sutherns, thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Good to see you too. And thanks, Matt, for having me as always.
Yep, hopefully Mark will be back on Monday. Or are you up for the game? No, it's a night game. You're not coming up, are you?
No, I can't make that again. It's so annoying living down south, especially no holiday. So yeah, I can't do that. But hopefully, I can get some midweek games next season. Hopefully,
Are you up for the City game?
I'm up for the City game. Yeah, I'm gonna have to leave probably at 6 in the morning. But yeah, I know. Yeah,
It'd be like being a Plymouth fan for an away game. There you go.
I'm gonna get that breakfast at the NAF. I'll tell you.
I might join you. I'm there for that one as well.
Yeah.
Right, we shall end it there. We'll be back at 9:30 tomorrow, as I say. So hopefully we'll see you then for more chat on this game and looking ahead with Kelv and Pete. So yeah, have a good evening, everyone. Whatever's left of it, and if we don't see you tomorrow, we shall see you soon.